Hello, this is just a quick introductory video to using Collaborative CAD. To get this video, you probably have already been given access to the software. And so, when you log in next time, it'll bring you to a screen like this or bring you directly to the case information. The first thing you would do is you would fill out that case information, patient's name, first name, last name, country, amputation caused, date of birth, if they're left or right, intervention, kind of all the different type of information that would be in this form. If it's, you don't have anything to say, just, type in, no or NA or something of the sort. And then you would click save. So the next thing you would do is that you would go to the measurements. And at the measurement screen, you just type in, the measurements that you took off of a normal, transtibial measurements form. Here's the circumference at MPT. And, here's just a, AP, ML. All kind of standard measurements. If you type in a percentage reduction, that percentage will come up in the goal measurements. These other categories, those actually get pushed from the the workspace, and I'll show you that later. So after you type in all your measurements, you would click save. If you want to kind of open up a separate window with the measurements, you can just kind of click here. It opens up another window so that, as you progress forward through the program, you can always toggle back and forth between the measurements window and this window. So after you uploaded those, you click save. And then the next thing you would do is you would go to the workspace. And when you start the workspace, you'll see something that looks like this, just an empty grid. And what you do is you go and you import primary model. I'm just going to take something I have from my desktop. So this is coming from my computer, and open. It's going to ask me, what units. It tends to autofill the right units. So I'm just going to leave it at millimeters. Ask me if I want to change the coordinates, no. Ask me if I want to remesh. That's generally a good thing to do. So I'd leave that checkbox yes. And click OK. So here we go. The model has come in. It's tried to orient it as best as possible, but it's not exactly right. This just needs to be tilted just a little bit. Let's take a look over here. That's actually looking pretty good, but the only other thing is that you want to double click at MPT because you want to, single click at MPT, and because you want to center that grid right there, kind of halfway through Patel at MPT, because that sets your measurement height. Other things you can do is you can kind of move it forward and back. You can do a plane cut if you want to cut off the top of it, or if you need to do a remesh. All these things can be done from this screen. But after you're happy with the model, by the way, I'm all I'm doing is kind of moving on the touchpad just off the screen to be able to kind of move it around. And if you ever kind of get lost, you can go and kind of just go click, default views, or just recenter it. And there it's back, centered on the screen. So I'm going to click finish orientation, and here we go. Do the recentering. There we go. And now you can see that the measurements are there right at MPT. That's the current circumference. But not only that, you can see the measurements compared to other measurements. And so currently this is showing compared to the goal measurements. Okay, so if we had it checked here, this would be what the measurements that you uploaded into the measurement form, versus what the measurements actually are. This would be the goal measurements. You can kind of see how that right there changed to green. And then there would be kind of, secondary, measurements compared to a secondary model. So I'm just going to click push measurements to initial model. Click. And so now that has gone to measurement table. You can kind of see it there. I'm going to minimize that. I got, just so we're on the, you understand, I got to all that by clicking on the circumference button. So now it's been oriented. You kind of checked your measurements. The next thing you would do would just to kind of carve into the model. So you just sort of click on carve, and you just sort of go and just sort of rub along, and you can kind of see the changes made. And then because that's a little rough, you would kind of go back over that and smooth. Now I'm currently doing this with a touchpad. You can obviously use a mouse for this, but also the best thing is a touch screen. So it kind of works very well on a tablet, and it also works on a smartphone. So smartphones, it's a little small, the screen's a little small for it, but I personally prefer like an iPad or a tablet for the way I do it. So just to kind of walk you through a few more of the tools, you got build tool. Just go here and kind of click, increase it. Once again, if you want to smooth, you go through and you kind of smooth it up, kind of make it look nicer and smoother. And if you see that, if we do changes down here where the measurements are, the numbers change live as you make those changes. So it is really kind of, designed to be as intuitive as possible, and kind of, we want to make it feel like you're working on like a digital plaster model, like a plaster model. You can go through and do other measurements. You can do kind of, diameters, both in the coronal and sagittal, do kind of a point to point, all these different types of measurements here. So I just kind of click there. Sorry, you have to show the other measurement tool and then unclick the circumference tool. There you go. So this is going across the coronal plane right now. And then, the same thing would happen on the sagittal plane. Okay. Now going back to the circumference measurements, after you've done all your measurements again, you can go and push, you could do something in the middle if you're halfway through modifying or rectifying, but you could also, when you're done with it, you can go and push the final, and then once again push the table, and now you have your final measurements on the measurement form. So I was just trying to help you kind of keep track of the work that you're doing with measurements. Every step of the way, you can click the undo button and kind of undo the changes that you make, and then go there and redo it. Another kind of nice feature is that we have a color change. So you can see the places where we've built up to increase, but also where we carved in. Now that sort of shows that to you in different colors. I find the program works a little bit slower with the color change, so I only turn it on when I want to look at stuff, and then I'll turn it back off again. Other tools, you can draw on the model. Once again, you can do other aspects of kind of orienting it. We have a compare feature where you would go and you kind of compare this to a secondary model or compare to the start, so you can kind of see the changes that you've already made. If it's set up to compare to the original. So let's see, right now this is set at compare vertically compared to original. But you can kind of change, all these different types of compare, so you can kind of see the work that you've done and what it looks like. So, yeah. So then the last thing to say is, when you're said and done, you can kind of export it. Now, soon we're going to be able to have, I mean, we actually already have it in kind of a an alpha phase. So it's already, we have it where you can kind of turn this and turn it into a socket. And then from that, socket, you'd be able to 3D print. So that's a feature that we're going to push soon. But at least in the meantime, if you sort of want this copy of this digital model, you would go and then you would save it. You can save it as a STL or an OBJ. So I hope this is a good summary. There is going to be some new updates in the next month or so. Please use, enjoy, and give us feedback. Oh, actually, and one last thing, which is that we do have kind of a sample case in here. If you go to resources, you won't see the George Brown one, but you just click on here, and there's a demo STL here, and there's just kind of a sample case for you to know about, some more information, some help information, and we do have a little survey here to try to get us information about your experience. So please, go through the sample case and then give us some feedback in the survey. So once again, thank you for all your time, and please enjoy the software.